What's up, everybody? It's your boy, God's Gunslinger, aka Kali GG, aka Caliathan, aka Scaly GG, aka a reptile dysfunction, aka cold-blooded killer. I definitely didn't look at notes, and you don't need to look at your notes either, but you do need to watch this video. It's Lizardmen. Let's get into it. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. Just don't ask. I lost a bet. Okay, let's leave it at that. I hope you I hope you enjoyed that. So today we are talking about Lizardmen. I like this faction for the fact that I think that they have the most usable rares other than maybe high elves. I think they have some of the most usable rares in this faction. I think you're going to enjoy what we go over today. So let's just dive into it. Man, I'm so thrown off by those ridiculous lizard puns and jokes for my own name. Who am I? So starting off with Haruspex, one of our void rares for the lizard faction. You have a decent ability for poison. This can help out later in the game. Not very useful, but where he does come in use is his turn meter manipulation. So he can increase the turn meter of all your allies. He can increase their speed. It is the lower percentage at 15% instead of 30%, but it's something. And, you know, for a rare and it being a 3-turn cooldown, not too bad. Really something great about him, though, if you don't have... if you don't have Brodma and you want to have a little bit of more survivability on your team, he does provide a revive, and it also fills turn meter on a 5-turn cooldown, which is the same cooldown that Brodma's revive is on. So for a rare, I think Haruspex brings a lot of viability and variety to your team that can be useful as a support champion. He has pretty good health at 18,000. His defense it's decent. You know, I'm trying to think of it as benefits for a rare. At almost 1,000 defense, it's not terrible. There's definitely worse, right? He's not in that 600 to 800 range, thank God. But his speed is exceptional. 105 speed makes him really good, really easy to build with speed. So you could get around to those cooldowns much quicker for sure. Build him tanky, build him fast if you got him. You don't need accuracy for this. I mean, you're not going to get a crazy amount of damage off 2.5 poisons, guys. I wouldn't worry about his accuracy personally, unless you are really, really hurting for that small amount of damage you're going to get. Metal Shaper actually is pretty cool too. He has a chance of stealing a buff on his A1, you know, not the greatest A1 out there, but he's defense-based, right? He has okay defense, okay health, you know, again, a rare. His speed lacking, but you're going to be able to build him more tanky because he scales off defense, and he's going to do more damage because you're building him off defense. So best of both worlds there. You guys know I love tanky champions or defensive HP-based champions for Faction Wars because it gives our community a much better chance at succeeding. So won't go into that too much, but he does bring shield to the entire team, and it can be on a 2-turn cooldown, so he can continuously shield all allies for 2 turns, and it's proportional to his level. That's not necessarily the best shield that you can get in the game, but the fact that you can permanently have that up is actually pretty insane. You might want to speed tune him into the middle of your team so that he has the best chance of keeping that shield on everyone. If you build him at 130 speed but the rest of your team is at 200 speed, they're going to continuously go, and that shield's going to drop off, and he's going to have a much lower rate at putting it back on them. So just keep that in mind with some of these champions that buff up and support the rest of your team. It doesn't matter if they have revive. It doesn't matter if they have heals. It doesn't matter if they have shields. If they can't go often enough, or if they can't survive in order to put those buffs back up in order for you to get that breather that you need. So another cool ability. I mean, he only has 3, and 2 of them are amazing. I mean, even this stealing a buff is crazy, but I digress. Removing all debuffs from an ally with the lowest HP, then heals that ally by 20% of this champion's max HP. He doesn't have a terrible max HP. It's 16.3k. I've seen other defensive champions with, 13k, 12k, whatever. So that's pretty solid. Places a 25% increased defense on that target for 3 turns. So he also brings an increased defense. Why it's 25% instead of like 30? Or, at least being half of the 60% defense? I don't know. But, hey, you get a heal, you get cleanse, you get... Okay, anyways. So, next in the lineup, Slasher, don't really like too much. He does provide a little bit of damage and shield on himself, which maybe could be useful in lower levels if you're having trouble keeping DPS alive, but in my opinion, mostly useless. Now, I'm showing Flinger only for the reason that he has decreased defense on his A1. Definitely useful compared to maybe like a 4 or 5 turn AoE decrease defense, especially if you have Hexmaster, so that you can continue to get that decreased defense on different champions, on enemies, and allow it to last longer. You can rotate that around on the enemy team, and you could easily put him in like a stun set to complement your team to CC the enemy. And as far as the A3, I don't really like it, but if you're in a pinch and you really, really need decreased defense, this could be an option for you. He is going to be harder to build, but it's an option. Sorry, not healer. Bogwalker is a pretty good champion. I'm sure you guys have seen videos of bringing him in as a rare on Clan Boss or a tier list, and he has a really good kit. And similarly, his kit can be very useful for faction wars as well. His ability to put decrease attack, increase defense on your team, especially if you're running defense-based champions. I really can't talk today. It was those names for sure. Do lizards have a short memory? Am I turning into a lizard? Anyways, increased defense on the team as well as reflect damage could be super, super helpful in pumping out a little bit more damage while keeping your team alive. The decreased attack can be super nice for focus targeting enemy champions that are attack based and reducing the amount of damage they're going to deal. Now, Skullsworn. This is all I want to say about Skullsworn. If you are running Skullsworn with a Skulllord Vargal combination, keep him low level. You don't need to max out Skullsworn in that combo unless you're memeing an arena or something like that. Just leave him at like level 30. You'll be fine. Put a little bit of gear on him so he can survive like the boss's AoE attack or something, but he doesn't need to survive the boss's ignore defense attack on level 21. He doesn't need to survive major hits from most champions because Skulllord is going to just bring him back up and he's going to go. He's going to be alive and the enemies are going to focus Skullsworn because he's low level, so you can just continuously use him to cheese the enemy, which is a pretty big brain play, so make sure you use it. The rest of the rares, they can be useful. I don't really like them too much. Decreased turn meter and stealing buffs is okay. Decreased speed on him, not Gator, but Skink, amazing skin by the way, but can block damage or ignore block damage and shield. Could be really great against a Valkyrie if you're trying to like really focus a Valkyrie down. He brings a chance at decreased defense, which is also a huge benefit. And if he does happen to place a heal reduction, his A3 will crit. So you don't really need to build crit on him. Honestly, you could just use him again for decreased defense if you're lacking on a champion that has decreased defense. The only thing I don't like about Skink is he has horrible stats. So use him if you are like having trouble pulling Lizardmen, but other than that, you'd be better off going with 4. Okay, next. So for the epics, I think that there are really, in my opinion, only 3 usable champions here. 2 of which are super good, 1 which could be a fill for sure. And 1 that I would say, as far as Lizardmen, the faction war, Brodma is probably an S tier epic for this, primarily because of his ability to provide 2 allies as a resurrection versus 1 that you have with Haruspex, right? So if you go to Brodma, you have an ability that can revive 2, put him under block damage, which is great. If the enemy's big hits are coming up and you don't have any heals or anything like that, this might not help them, but it does give you some breathing room. So excellent ability. The fact that it does more than 1. It's on a 5-turn cooldown, so same as Haruspex. The only difference is you're not getting speed buffs. You're getting crit rate and increased speed instead of turn meter. However, his A1 does have the ability to freeze the enemies. That can actually be super clutch against Valks, against Cythalia Wave. Think about Cythalia and Thanasil, how annoying as shit that combination is. This can be just the CC you might need in addition to the rest of your team to take them out one by one. Now, I think Jareg as well as Jareg can be pretty useful here. Wait, sorry, not Jareg, Basilisk. I always get them confused. If you go with Basilisk, I think putting him in a stun set, a daze set, possibly even a taunt set could be super useful. He is attack based, so you might not want to go with taunt unless that's the only set that you can really build on him effectively, stat wise. His speed is good, his health is good, his attack is good, and with his A1 being able to attack all enemies, you have a really good chance, a better chance at consistently CCing the enemy team. His A2 does have a really good chance at placing the stun. He is Force, so keep that in mind. It's going to have a good chance at placing on Force affinity and Magic affinity, but possibly not Spirit. You're going to have a reduced chance, especially because it's an attack. It does damage, so it's going to make a check, and if you hit the enemy as a weak hit, it will not place. Now, this can be super useful again, especially paired with Brodma. This champion, if he does go down, will revive himself. He'll put a block damage buff on himself, and then that can be paired up with Brodma's revive as well. So you kind of get a little bit of more sustain out of that, if you think about that in the sense of sustain. And then just keeping him alive and having the ability to go again can again allow him to get his stun out or possibly CC with his A1 on the enemy. And I know I didn't really go over Jareg, but essentially he's a big meat tank and he's going to keep your team alive. Just make sure you're building any of these supports that you're going to use with, you know, maybe fast immortal gear or lifesteal if you can get good damage out of them. Most of them, I mean, spoiler alert, Lizardman faction does not have a great amount of damage dealers. There are a few. But I find immortal gear to work out really well, or regeneration gear to work out really well there if you can't get enough damage out of them to make lifesteal worth it. For someone like Jareg, unless you're using him for clan boss, I probably wouldn't put War Master on him. Honestly, I'd put something that's more beneficial maybe in the defense tree. And so in that sense, you're definitely not going to get good lifesteal procs when you hit an enemy. So think about that when you're building your champions. As always, you know that I have all these builds in Discord, so you can check them there as well. Now, for the legendaries, every single legendary, you cannot say this about every faction, every single legendary in the Lizardman faction is very useful, okay? Now stick with me here. Krisk, you know what Krisk does, all right? He has the ability to provoke and increase defense on himself, increase speed on the team. If he gets attacked after he does said provoke, he can then decrease the defense and decrease the attack on the enemies that attack him. This also allows on each round, keep that in mind, that's unique for places like dungeons, faction wars, etc. Anything that has multi-rounds, campaign, that the shield will place at the top of each new round. You kill the first wave, you go on to the next wave, that shield will replenish. So insane. Centuried Vigor is an ally protection. This is going to do immensely at keeping your team alive, especially with the shield that you get from Krisk. If you want a little life hack with Krisk, put a shield set on him. That will double with his regular shield that he places from his passive. And then, if you come in with his Centuried Vigor, or his Turtle Bomb as I like to call it, it will then extend those shields for another turn, increasing the duration in which those shields will last. Just insane champion, and he has the ability to decrease speed on his A1, and it attacks all enemies. He's great in a shield set. He's great in Immortal. You can literally put Krisk in any set, and he will absolutely dominate. He's disgusting. Okay, next. Vergumkar. Vergi. Alright, we're going to call him Vergi because he looked like Fergie. He got that big donk. Anyways, his A1, pretty good. I mean, it does have a stun on a lower chance, but it can increase with each debuff, each buff on the enemy target. So if you're going against a Valkyrie team, for example, just off the top of my head, you get multiple buffs on those enemies. The chance at him stunning them is going to go up by 15% for each buff that is on them. So that's super, super helpful. And then, of course, you can book this up to 45% base if they have one buff, 60%. If they have two buffs, 75%, etc. So really good for an A1 in my opinion. I know a lot of people don't feel the same, but he is a support-based champion. So it is nice that he at least has something like that in his kit. Now, he can't be provoked, and where this could be very helpful, especially if you're on early levels, the boss that taunts comes to mind. So increasing his turn meter whenever he tries to get provoked could be super useful. If your team gets provoked, he removes it from all allies, which is also exceptionally beneficial if you need one of those allies to land decreased defense, or if you need them to use a different ability so that they heal, or use an ally protection, or revive, anything like that. This can be super useful at clearing that debuff. And then on top of that, he can also place a shield on all his allies. Shields, guys, shields, allied protection, lifesteal gear, immortal gear. I talk about this all the time. If you want to get through faction wars, sustainability, CC, it's super important. You don't need insane damage to get through a faction unless you have amazing revivers like Raglan or Cardinal, etc. As far as his passive, I already talked about it. He's immune to provoke. Now, Skulllord, I'm not going to really go over his full kit. Basically, if you're using him, I would say build him tanky. You could get away with building him as a damage dealer, primarily because the enemy is going to be focusing your Skullsworn. However, I would build him in a shield set just to give the rest of your team that much more benefit to their survivability. He doesn't do an insane amount of damage. The best thing I think he has going is that this A1 can be a 4-hit. He decreases attack, which is nice. He can provoke, but it only provokes one enemy, which I don't really like. He does have two passives, which is pretty crazy, but they're not going to, like, proc. You're not going to get a level 280 enemy down to 50% of their health from his passive, which is slowly just decaying them. It's such a weird passive. I don't know. Rosin is insane. You can build him however you want. You can build him tanky. You can build him for damage. I personally like to build Rosin full damage with good accuracy so that he can land his A3 to reduce the enemy's turn meter by 100%. I run him on full auto. You'll see this in my team coming up, and I think that his damage potential is insane. He is an exceptional champion, especially if you're mid-game. If you're looking at these videos and you're wondering how you can progress and you're looking kind of in the future what champions you can use for faction wars, if you're using Rosin for clan boss, arena, whatever, try building him for damage if you never have. I think you will be extremely surprised at the amount of damage he can do. He can decimate teams, and in these higher faction levels, he can hit these waves for a ton of damage. So look into him. If you're not using him, he is amazing. I personally recommend a lifesteal set on him, as he will heal up for quite a bit as well with the amount of damage he's doing. Now, Fushon is a champion that I wish I had. I mean, he is great. He has the ability to hit additionally on his A1. I love abilities that can hit additionally. His A2 will attack all enemies and has a chance to stun them. And his A3 attacks 4 times at random, but has a chance at doing decreased defense. All of these champions that do decreased defense, you're probably going to want to find a way to slot them in if you do not have Draco Morph. And beyond that, he has amazing speed, amazing health, amazing attack, and good defense. He overall is just an insane champion, and he can hit insanely hard. And icing on the cake, he increases speed in all battles. So if you're not using Fushon, definitely throw him in. If you're not using any of these legendaries and you have them, level them up. Put them in. What are you doing, you fool? Please, listen to me. And, I mean, there's Draco. Like, what do I even need to say about Draco? He's insane. He decreases defense and weaken on all enemies, 3 turns. He puts max poisons on everyone. He does insane damage with his A1. Even after the nerf, it is still an incredible ability. He also has great speed, great attack. I personally would recommend putting him in a Relentless set only because I love his damage output with a Relentless set and his ability to lower his already low cooldowns. However, if you're having trouble keeping him alive, which you probably will because he's very squishy and he will get focused a lot, especially against the force enemies in the end levels, I would put him in a lifesteal set. You can even build him tanky. I mean, simply due to his decreased defense and his weaken and his poisons, he will get the job done, guys. So build him really however you want. Full damage if you have the support to keep him alive, or tanky with good accuracy and maybe a hybrid tankiness attack build in order to get the damage out of him that you want but keep him alive. Maybe in like lifesteal gear or something like that. And that's Lizardmen for you. I just started thinking about the stupid names that I was calling out at the beginning of this video. Guys, I hope you're enjoying these videos. I do have some fun stuff planned for the community. We are doing exceptionally well. You guys have been reaching out and giving me amazing feedback on the videos, and from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much. It really means a lot to me. It's extremely motivating and makes me want to keep creating these videos for you, and I'm already starting to think of videos of what I'm going to be doing after I get done with these endgame faction war videos. As always, please hit that subscribe and that bell for the notifications on my videos so that you are up to date when the next one releases, and you can get all of my Discord information for these builds at the bottom in the description. Please comment, and I will see you guys next time. Cali GG, out.